The Chicago Bears are staring at a rivalry spot that can flip their whole season in one night, and the shocking part is the matchup just changed right in front of everyone. Green Bay is coming in without Micah Parsons, and that is the kind of absence that can turn a normal rematch into a free runway for a young quarterback to attack early. Soldier Field is not waiting for Chicago to play safe. It is begging for a statement, because this is not just about beating the Packers. It is about proving the Bears can control a big moment instead of surviving it. What nobody is talking about enough is how different Caleb Williams looked last week, because it finally felt clean, calm, and sharp from the first drive. Chicago did not just beat Cleveland, they crushed them 31-3, and Caleb Williams finished 17 of 28 for 242 yards, with 2 touchdowns to DJ Moore, while DeAndre Swift added 2 rushing touchdowns that kept the defense honest. That matters here because it tells you the Bears are not limping into this rematch. They are building momentum at the exact time the division gets tight. But here is the twist. This game is still dangerous because losing one pass rusher does not mean the Packers stop hunting. It just changes where the pressure comes from. You still have to respect Rashawn Gary, you still have to win up front, and you still have to protect Caleb Williams from the one hit that can ruin a hot start. So the real question is simple, and it decides everything. Do the Bears lean into the quick throws and let Caleb Williams set the tone right away? Or do they try to stay balanced and risk letting the night turn into a grind because the moment Chicago chooses its first punch, Green Bay will show its counter? But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Bears and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 350 likes on this video. The Bears can finally call this game like they mean it, because the protection plan does not have to be built around fear first. That changes the entire menu. Longer developing routes become realistic, play action looks cleaner, and those rollout throws stop feeling like emergency exits and start feeling like weapons. But here is the part that can shock people. When you remove one huge problem, it does not make the night easy. It makes the Bears more dangerous because the playbook opens up. Chicago has to win the early snaps with tempo and intent. Quick throws that punish soft coverage, motion that forces defenders to declare, and tight ends helping on the edges so the tackles are not left on an island. Then you start layering in the shots, not reckless, not forced, just timed punches when the defense creeps forward and starts guessing. If Caleb Williams gets the play on schedule, the Packers cannot just wait for mistakes. They have to defend everything, every blade of grass. Now comes the decision that will shape the entire first half, and it is not about being brave. It is about being smart. Do the Bears set the tone by throwing early and spreading the field, or do they make this a body game that drags Green Bay into long drives and short yards battles? Because once Chicago shows its first identity, the Packers will adjust fast, and that is when the run-pass choice becomes the real headline. The Bears have a choice that sounds simple but can decide the whole night. Do they make Green Bay tackle for 4 quarters, or do they chase points right away? The danger is not picking the wrong one. The danger is becoming predictable. That is why DeAndre Swift is the pressure point in this rematch, because when he is rolling, the defense has to creep closer, and that is when everything else starts to breathe. If Chicago commits to DeAndre Swift early, it is not just about yards, it is about control. You force linebackers to step up, you make defensive backs tackle in space, and you turn third down into a shorter, calmer situation instead of a panic moment. Then the offense can start calling plays with options, not just answers, because a defense that is worried about the run cannot sit on roots the same way. This is where it gets interesting, because the run-pass identity is not only about what the Bears want, it is about who is actually available to carry the load around DeAndre Swift. One missing weapon can change the whole feel of a game plan, and one surprise active player can flip the matchup in a single drive. So, before anyone locks in on run or pass, you have to look at the injury dominoes, because that is what decides who becomes the featured target on the biggest snaps. The Bears are walking into this rematch with a lineup puzzle that can quietly decide the whole game before the first snap. If Rome Odunze cannot go, and if Luther Burden is limited, the offense does not just lose speed, it loses the pieces that stress a defense in the middle of the field. That is the scary part, because it forces Chicago to show its hand early, and Green Bay can start leaning coverage toward the same few names if the options shrink. That is why this becomes a night where roles matter as much as stars. DJ Moore can still be the engine, but now the pressure rises on Olamide Zaccheaus to win his matchups and keep drives alive. It also puts the spotlight on Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, because tight ends can become the safest way to move the chains when wideouts are banged up. If Chicago leans heavier, those two are not side pieces. They become the main route runners in the moments that decide third down. And here is what makes it feel like a setup for something bigger. The target tree can change how the quarterback looks. When the roster is not perfect, the offense has to be sharper, faster, and more intentional, which means the timing and accuracy from Caleb Williams become the real story. Because if he can stay calm and keep hitting the right read, even when the lineup shifts, then the next question is unavoidable. Was last week a one-time flash, or the start of a new version of Caleb Williams that the Packers now have to deal with? The Chicago Bears did not just win last week. The tape quietly showed a version of this offense that people have been waiting for, and most viewers missed it because the box score did not scream fireworks. What nobody is talking about is how Caleb Williams stopped giving the defense easy outs. The ball came out with purpose, the decisions looked safer, and the whole drive-to-drive feel had less chaos. That is the kind of change that can flip a rivalry game, because it means Chicago is not begging for big plays. They are building them. On the All-22, the biggest signal was not one highlight throw, it was the lack of wasted throws. A lot of the incompletions were not bad balls at all. They were drops, throwaways, tight coverage, or a route that broke down, which means the quarterback was not handing out gifts. One breakdown even framed it as 4 drops, and basically one true miss all game, and that is a different conversation than the earlier weeks, where a few easy misses would stall drives. Then you get the moment everyone remembers, that off-balance touchdown where Caleb Williams still put the ball in a spot DJ Moore could finish. And it tells you the ceiling is real when the base-level execution is finally steady. Now take that same version of Caleb Williams into a rematch, and it forces Green Bay into uncomfortable choices. If he keeps playing like a quarterback who can stay on schedule, you cannot just sit back and wait. You have to pressure, you have to disguise, you have to take risks. But here's the twist that can change everything. The Bears only get the full reward if their own defense does not hand Jordan Love the exact kind of deep shots that can steal momentum in 2 snaps. And that is where the next part gets serious. The Chicago Bears can have the crowd, the momentum, and the matchup, then lose control in seconds if the defense gifts one clean deep shot. That is the part that should make fans nervous, because the Packers do not need a perfect night from Jordan Love to steal a rivalry game. They just need one moment where the Bears get too aggressive and one receiver runs free with no safety there to save it. This is not about fear, it is about discipline when emotions are high. The warning sign is how often the biggest gains have shown up on pressure calls, where coverage turns into a foot race. When you send extra rushers and lean hard on tight man coverage, you are betting that Jalen Johnson, Kevin Byard, TJ Edwards, CJ Gardner-Johnson, and Jaquan Brisker can win every matchup with no help. That can work when the rush hits home instantly, but when it does not, the quarterback gets just enough time to drop a ball into space and let speed do the rest. The Bears do not need to stop blitzing. They need to disguise better, mix in zone looks, and make Jordan Love hesitate, instead of letting him see the answer before the snap. Now here's the pressure point. If Dennis Allen calls this game with smarter cover looks behind pressure, the Bears can force slower drives and keep the scoreboard calm. But if the defense chases highlight plays and gives up one back-breaking strike, it will not matter how well the offense starts. And that is when the game swings to the part most people ignore until it hurts. The hidden phase where one kick, one return, or one punt can flip the entire night. The Chicago Bears can do everything right on offense and defense, then watch the whole night tilt on one swing of a leg. That is not drama, that is reality in late-season football, especially in a tight rivalry where possessions feel rare and every mistake feels loud. The scary part is special teams does not warn you. It hits once, then you are chasing points and field position at the same time. This is where the pressure lands on Cairo Santos and Torrey Taylor, because kicks and punts are supposed to be the calm part of your team. Made field goal turns a long drive into points. A strong punt flips the field and lets the defense hunt. And a clean operation keeps the crowd on your side instead of holding its breath. If those two are steady, the Bears can keep playing patient football and force Green Bay to earn every inch. But here is the twist. Special teams is not only about the kickers, it is also about hidden sparks that can steal momentum. Devin Duvernay and Josh Blackwell have the kind of return ability that can change the feel of a drive before the offense even lines up, and a single big return can turn a close game into a sudden punch. So the next question becomes bigger than one game. If Chicago gets through this rematch clean, what does Ryan Poles do next to raise the ceiling? Because the rumors about pass rush help are already waiting on the other side of this result. The Chicago Bears are not only fighting for one win, they are fighting to prove they are worth going all in for, and that is why the rumors feel so loud right now. This front office knows the window gets real when your quarterback is ready and fans can feel it, because the next move could turn this team from exciting to scary. The shocking part is how fast the conversation changes the moment Chicago looks like a real threat. If the Bears win and look strong doing it, the talk around Ryan Poles gets sharper, because then it becomes less about staying patient and more about striking at the right target. Names like Matthew Judon, Myles Garrett, and Trey Hendrickson pop up for a reason, because pass rush is the one thing that can travel anywhere, in any weather, against any opponent. And it is not just outside names either, because the way Montez Sweat, Austin Booker, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and Dominique Robinson finish this stretch will tell Chicago what kind of help is needed and how urgent it really is. But here is the twist. The Bears do not get to choose the timing. The league does. One big game can raise the price, one bad game can change the plan, and that is why this rematch matters beyond the scoreboard. So, I want your call right now. What do you think happens? And what is your score prediction? Because the moment the final whistle blows, the next chapter for Ryan Poles starts immediately.